all have self-doubts, but guess what? You're not here to listen to another confidence pep talk. You're here to learn 4 mindset shifts to get you thinking like the confident queen that you are. We're going to talk about what is the confidence mindset? What are these 4 mindset shifts that I'm talking about? And what is the science behind it all? And side note, have you ever wondered why so many of us suffer from these insecurities? It might have to do with capitalism and patriarchy. More hot takes on these two near the end of my video, so stay tuned. First, let's cover how our mindset actually impacts our confidence. I would argue that 100% of our confidence comes from our mindset. Have you ever met someone that you thought was super gorgeous, super accomplished, but they still had insecurities about themselves? So our thoughts become our reality. Our brains cannot tell the difference between thoughts in our head and our actual reality. So the only difference between feeling insecure and feeling confident is our thoughts. So if your brain tells you every day that you're lazy, you're unproductive, you're not good looking, you're not successful, you are going to believe those thoughts over time, okay? On the other hand, if your brain is telling you every day that you are a bad bitch,
it's bad bitch o'clock,
that you are Beyonce, you are gonna believe it over time too. So here are 4 mindset shifts that hold us back from being the Beyonce queens that we are and how we can overcome them to think and ultimately feel confident. The first mindset shift to thinking like a confident queen is moving from comparing to celebrating. It is no surprise that comparison is on the list because we've all heard that comparison is the thief of joy. It makes us feel pretty crappy when we compare ourselves to other people. So know that comparing yourself is completely normal. It is your brain trying to help you survive. Comparing ourselves helped us back in the day in the caveman woman days when we were trying to ensure that we would be accepted into a social group. But today we are not interested in surviving. We are interested in thriving. So there are so many opportunities for us to compare ourselves because of social media. And that is our norm today, to be scrolling, to be looking at other people. But freeing your mind from comparison will unleash your inner confidence. So how do we move from comparing to celebrating? Here are 3 tips. The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you start comparing yourself to others and be compassionate about yourself and don't beat yourself up. Changing your habits and having awareness takes a lot of patience and practice to make those small changes. The second step is explore. Really explore your unique strengths, experiences, and values that you want to celebrate because you are unique, girl. I know you might be thinking, Rosie, what do you mean celebrate myself? I suck at everything. I'm a blob. Girl, I can promise you that you have unique strengths. Everyone has strengths. Everyone has unique lived experiences and values. No one else has lived your life. I can guarantee that you are unique and you have strengths. Check out my video above if you don't know how to find your strengths because I'll go through an exercise and some tests to help you find your strengths and values. My third step is celebrating. Refocus your comparison to think about your strengths. Celebrate your strengths, unique lived experiences, and your values. So personal example is my struggle with my career. In my early 20s, I kept comparing myself to my business school classmates because they were in these fancy investment banking, management consulting jobs, and I didn't have a fancy job like them. But I had to keep reminding myself that my values are health and spending time with my friends and making new experiences. So even though I wasn't earning as much money as them, I had really good work-life balance and I still had the luxury and privilege to take trips, have dinner with my friends, and take care of my health, go to the gym, etc. So I really didn't need to compare myself with my classmates because we're completely different people with different strengths, values, and goals. So my pro tip is make your own highlight reel. We see the highlights of everyone else's lives and we start comparing their highlights to our everyday lives, which is completely unrealistic. So what if you made your own highlights reel to glamorize and fall in love with your own highlights or even your everyday life? So it really doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need to be a world traveler or Instagram star to make a reel. So here's a clip of a reel I made of my everyday life last winter. I'm just eating food with friends and making art. It's literally nothing fancy. And I'm not gonna lie, I will re-watch reels of my own dog over and over, especially if I'm feeling like I'm in a slump, and it never ceases to pick me up. If you don't have any footage, it could be a really fun project. And if you do have footage, it's so fun and you feel so much gratitude just going through your old memories and making that video. So you don't need to post it publicly as well. Just make it and enjoy it for you. So to summarize, the first confident mindset is shifting from comparing to celebrating, because Comparison is the thief of joy. Let's find and focus on our strengths, unique values, and lived experiences. And the 3 steps are awareness, explore, and celebrate. And my last pro tip is to make your own highlight reel. We only see the highlights of other people's lives on social media. So you gotta start celebrating your own self, girl. Comparison did help us back in the cave days, but you know what? We are here to thrive, not survive. The second mindset shift to thinking like a confident queen is moving from I should to I choose to. You know those I should statements like, I should have my life figured out. I should be in a relationship. I should be more successful. I should look a certain way. Yeah, those are BS. When we think in shoulds, we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves and even others. It is damaging to our confidence because it creates unnecessary pressure and feeds into the idea that we are not good enough as we are today. And girl, we don't need that negative energy in our lives. So what's the solution? It's all about reframing the way we talk to ourselves. Instead of using I should, try using something more empowering like I choose to or I would like to. This helps us shift from a place of pressure to a position of empowerment and choice. So let's choose to live our lives on our own terms, queens. So there are 3 steps to shifting your mindset, and they're very similar to the last tip. The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you have these should thoughts, and don't beat yourself up when you find yourself thinking like this. Habits are ingrained and very hard to break, so be compassionate about yourself. The second step is explore. Explore the belief beneath your statement. So according to this book, we typically create should statements to help us feel in control and avoid pain or disappointment. So if you're not sure what belief underlies your statement, try to ask yourself, what will happen if you don't meet that should? For example, if you think I should be successful, think about what happens if you're not successful and explore that belief or underlying fear. And look for evidence that supports or does not support that belief. Many of these beliefs are consciously or subconsciously informed by societal pressures, especially like capitalism, which informs that I should be successful, I should be wealthy, I should buy a house, blah, 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 blah. And same thing with patriarchy that informs I should look a certain way, and for men, I should be strong. So more hot takes near these 2 at the end of my video because it really does affect our confidence. The third step is to reframe. Reframe your should statements to a position of power and empowerment without the negativity. So instead of using should, try to use I choose to or I would like to. So instead of saying I should be perfect at everything I do, you can say I choose to learn from my mistakes and grow. And instead of saying I should be a size 2 for now for hot girl summer, you can say I would like to be healthier and take care of my body, but I understand that my worth is not determined by my size or society's dumb unrealistic beauty standards. So just to recap, the second mindset shift for confidence is moving from I should to I choose to, because shoulds add unrealistic expectations and pressures which we do not need in our lives. And don't forget, a lot of these shoulds commonly come from societal pressures like capitalism and patriarchy. We're here to break those chains and own our worth. We don't need those negative societal pressures in our life. And then the 3 steps to changing from I shoulds to I choose to is awareness, explore, and reframe. So there you have it, queens. Say goodbye to I should and hello to I choose to be an empowered and confident queen. We don't have time for those unrealistic expectations that are draining our energy in our lives. So next time you catch yourself thinking I should, reframe that BS and use I choose to or I would like to instead for a more empowered, confident approach. The third mindset shift to thinking like a confident queen is moving from the negative to the positive. So focusing on the negative, aka mental filtering, is like putting on a pair of glasses that only lets you see the bad stuff in your life and you're filtering out all the good things. But guess what? We are queens and we want to see life in full HD, so take off those negative goggles. Here are 5 common examples of focusing on the negative that we experience. So the first one is negative self-talk. We might filter out all the amazing things that people say to us and only focus on those tiny little pieces of bad feedback. Okay, so we brush off positive feedback from others and obsess over those tiny negative comments we might receive. So seriously, can we stop being so hard on ourselves and just start celebrating our wins and awesomeness? The second one is social media comparison. So mental filtering can also happen when we're scrolling through our social media and only focusing on the things that are good in other people's lives without remembering the good things that we have in our own lives. This is really related to my last point of comparison. So let's give some credit to ourselves and glamorize our own lives instead of looking at other people's lives. Another example of mental filtering is our job dissatisfaction. So we ignore positive feedback from our coworkers or bosses and instead focus on all these perceived mistakes that we might be making at work. So it's time to stop focusing on our shortcomings and start recognizing our strengths and accomplishments. And another point for negative filtering is our relationship or dating struggles. We might ignore all the amazing things that our partner does for us and instead focus on the conflicts or disagreements. And same thing with friends. We might ignore all the good things about our friends and just focus on those annoying things or the drama. So let's cut ourselves some slack and recognize and appreciate all the amazing things that those relationships in our lives bring to us. Unless they're not meeting the bare minimum, in that case, cut them out of your life. And the last example of mental filtering that's quite common is fear of rejection or failure. So we might ignore a bunch of opportunities in our lives because we are scared of getting rejected or failing, and we're hyper focusing on these negative outcomes instead of the amazing positive opportunities we might have. So we avoid taking risks or trying new things because we're afraid of failing, and we end up limiting our amazing selves as queens. So it's time to break free from that self-limiting mindset of fear and rejection so we can start evolving into the queens with infinite amazing opportunities, okay? So overall, mental filtering brings attention to the negative things in our lives and really distorts the situation. So we're overly focusing on the negative, even though in reality, it's not the case. And many of us are conditioned to think this way because focusing on the negative does help us survive. But again, we are here to thrive, not survive, okay? So there are two things we can do. The first is awareness. It all starts with awareness, ladies. Start noticing when our negative focusing thoughts come creeping up and be compassionate about yourselves and don't beat yourself up when you find yourself having these thoughts. And the second is to focus on the positive. Find the silver linings, possible opportunities, and focus on your strengths. So recap, confidence mindset number 3 is moving from the negative to the positive. Focusing on the negative, aka mental filtering, distorts the situation, leading to unrealistic thoughts and makes us feel pretty crappy. 5 common ones are negative self-talk, social media comparison, job dissatisfaction, relationship or dating struggles, and lastly, a fear of failure or rejection. 2 steps to overcome this. Number 1 is awareness, and the second one is focusing on the positives. Focus on the opportunities and your strengths. So let us break free from these limiting negative mindsets and become aware of our negative bias and focus on the positive to really step into that confidence mindset and start thinking like queens. The 4th mindset shift into thinking like a confident queen is moving from minimizing to empowering. So as women, we tend to minimize ourselves and our accomplishments, and here are 4 common examples. The first one is we tend to brush off compliments like it was no big deal. The second one is we tend to belittle our successes, like getting a good grade, killing an interview, or doing well on a project. We're just like it wasn't a big deal. The third one is really discounting your skills or talents. When you get a compliment about you did something really cool, you're like, it wasn't actually that cool. Like, yeah, it was nothing. And then the last one is really attributing your success to luck or saying that someone else could have done it better. So those are all 4 examples of how we as women tend to minimize ourselves. And what a surprise! Society has conditioned women to minimize themselves, and might be because of patriarchy. So this Harvard Business Review study shows that women who employ intentional invisibility, which is minimizing themselves and staying under the radar, tend to be well liked but underappreciated. And you know what? As the confident, badass queens that we are, we do not accept being underappreciated anymore. So the opposite of minimizing yourself is straight up owning and accepting those compliments. So here are 4 mindset shifts to get you thinking like a confident queen. So instead of brushing off compliments, you can accept those compliments. Own that compliment, girl, you deserved it. And instead of belittling your own success and saying, oh, it wasn't that good, own your success. If you killed that interview, if you killed that project, don't play it down like it was another thing. Celebrate your skills and talents that led you to your success that you got. The next one is embracing your skills and talents when someone compliments you. Don't say, oh, it just wasn't that big of a deal. It was a big deal. You have those skills. You have those talents. You earned that compliment, so embrace it. And then the last one is owning your success and giving yourself credit to your success. So instead of thinking, oh, it was just luck or someone else could have done it better, well, you did it. It was all you. So own that success, girl. To recap, confidence mindset shift number 4 is moving from minimizing to empowering. So women tend to minimize ourselves due to social conditioning, and really 4 common examples are brushing off compliments, belittling our successes, discounting our skills, and thinking that our accomplishments are not a big deal or due to luck. And then we want to start accepting compliments, owning our success, embracing our skills and talents, and crediting our success to ourselves. So it is time to own our accomplishments and be confident AF doing it, okay? We are done minimizing ourselves. We are done being underappreciated. So next time someone gives you a compliment, own that shit and be the bad bitch that you are. Now let's talk about the science behind these 4 mindset shifts. So these 4 mindset shifts come from cognitive behavioral therapy, and they are called cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are internal mental filters or biases that increase our misery, fuel our anxiety, and make us feel bad about ourselves in general. Our brains are continually processing lots of information, and to deal with this, our brains look for shortcuts to cut down on our mental burden. And unfortunately, these shortcuts, they're good for surviving, but they are not good for thriving as confident bad bitch queens, okay? And our thoughts have a lot of impact on how we feel and think. And I would argue that our confidence comes 100% from our mindset and our thoughts. Now we get to my favorite part, capitalism and patriarchy. So much of our comparison, negativity, minimizing, and shoulds, they all come from either one or both of capitalism and patriarchy. For example, a super common value in capitalism is success and productivity and wealth. So it could lead us to having shoulds like, I should be successful, I should be productive, I should buy a house, I should buy a car, or whatever. But you have the power to decide what is important in your life and what your values are. Your values do not have to be dictated by capitalism. Now, for patriarchy, it tries to convince women to look a certain way in order to reinforce traditional gender roles and the power imbalance between men and women. So commonly, women might think, oh, I need to look young, I need to lose weight, I need to be a certain way, I need to be nice. And for men, it might impact men by making them think they have to be strong, they have to be like high earners. And before men come at me in my comments, patriarchy hurts men too. Those expectations hurt everyone involved. So this study explored the relationship between social media use and body image concerns in teen girls. Surprise, surprise, the authors found that girls who spent more time on social media sites were more likely to experience body dissatisfaction and engage in dieting and exercising. The authors suggest that social media can contribute to the internalization of patriarchal beauty standards, and we do not need that energy in our life. So overall, I'm just trying to say that your insecurities are not your fault. You were not born with self-doubts and insecurities. You absorb this through your life by being in a society that is fueled with patriarchy and capitalism. So we cannot dismantle the patriarchy overnight, unfortunately, but knowledge is power, and now you can attribute your thoughts to these societal, social reasons. So there you have it. We covered the 4 mindset shifts to conquer your insecurities and think like the confident queen that you truly are. We talked about moving from comparing to celebrating, I should to I choose to, negative to positive, and minimizing to empowering. We also covered the science behind these cognitive distortions and my favorite garbage topic of capitalism and patriarchy. Remember to be patient and compassionate with yourself. It takes so much practice and patience to change any of these ingrained habits and mindsets. By practicing these shifts consistently, you'll not only think more confidently, but you'll also be able to face life challenges head on. Now, speaking of challenges, we all know that work is super challenging and can be a huge source of stress. So why not continue on your journey of personal growth and confidence building by checking out my other video on stress-free success, where I share practical tips to say bye-bye to work stress once and for all. Subscribe to stay updated on more empowering content to level up your life and your career. Bye!